Hi guys, it's the Walking Zero Dead here, king of the anime and manga boxers and a lover of all things geeky here on YouTube. So in today's video I'm going to be running down my top 13 personal favourite survival horror games on the PlayStation 1. In my opinion, survival horror had its golden age on the original PlayStation generation, spawning such franchises like Clock Tower, Silent Hill, and of course Resident Evil. So in the comment section down below, I want to know from you guys out there, what are your top 10 favourite survival horror games from the PlayStation 1? Number 13, Koudelka. Koudelka is set in Wales at the end of the 1800s in an old creepy monastery filled with monsters. Koudelka is a mix between traditional survival horror and tactical RPG. Outside of battle, it plays like Resident Evil, where you have to solve puzzles and find keys to progress through the monastery. In battle, you move in a grid-based tactical RPG system, where you have to move the characters around the board and charge up magic, and ammo can run out. My 12th pick is Chaos Break. In Chaos Break, a meteorite crash lands on Earth with this living alien DNA, and there's this evil corporation that snatches up the cells and takes it to a top secret research facility, and then all chaos breaks loose. You play as either a former Navy SEAL or a young Japanese biochemist. But Chaos Break really is a Resident Evil clone. There are plenty of puzzles that must be solved, hordes of mutated monsters you got to defeat, and lots of cheesy bad voice acting. This is actually a very rare PlayStation game to get hold of. Number 11, Alone in the Dark. Before Resident Evil came along and even named the genre survival horror, there was Alone in the Dark. It helped mould survival horror with many of its action staples, with horrific creatures, weird puzzles, and limited healing items and ammunition. Alone in the Dark really was one of the founding games of survival horror. Number 10, Nightmare Creatures. Nightmare Creatures is set in 1834. London is suffering from monster sightings and people mutating into creatures in the street, and it all seems linked to an ancient cult who's trying to create an elixir that will give them superpowers, but instead it creates monsters. Nightmare Creatures has really great music. It feels straight out of a horror movie, along with real chilling ambient sound effects. Each creature you encounter sounds as mean as it looks. It snarls, it barks, and it growls and roars at you. Number 9, Galerains. Galerains took inspiration from Resident Evil, but it puts its own spin on the genre. You play as a young boy named Rion, who's a scientific experiment, who must escape the laboratory that he just woke up in, while security guards and scientists attempt to either capture you or kill you, and you must use these psychic powers given to you by using these addictive drugs that can make you go berserk and go mad if you use too much of them. Number 8, Martain Gothic Unification. A mysterious message is received on Earth from a base on Mars saying "Stay alone, stay alive." In this game you follow a team of astronauts with different skills who are sent up to a base on Mars to find out what happened. Once they're there, they discover everybody's dead. The game is very similar to Resident Evil in terms of controls and appearance, but it tweaks the Resident Evil formula and leans more towards solving puzzles, with the three characters fighting off ever-regenerating creatures. Now, I discovered this game because I was watching Super Best Friend's Shitstorm, and I was like, oh my god, there's a Resident Evil clone on the PlayStation 1 that I've never played before, and I had to get it. Number 7, Fear Effect. Fear Effect follows the story of three mercenaries as they attempt to kidnap the daughter of a powerful triad leader. You could be fooled into thinking that Fear Effect is not a survival horror game at all for the first half of the game, until it reveals its Chinese mythology roots in the second half of the game. It becomes a classic survival horror with undead monsters, beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds, puzzles, as well as ammo management. It's one of the most underrated PlayStation games ever made, and for its time, Fear Effect had cutting edge graphics. The cell shading looked absolutely gorgeous. Number 6, Dino Crisis. Capcom's dinosaur-based survival horror series started out almost identical to Resident Evil, except it featured T-Rexes and Velociraptors instead of zombies. Like Resident Evil 3, there's a new branching system where you get to choose what characters you follow, and that changes the path of different sections in the game. There's also a lot of puzzles in this game. I mean, there are a lot of puzzles. Imagine this game is like if Resident Evil and Jurassic Park had a love child. Number 5, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Now this is a big fan favourite. Resident Evil 3 unites us with the original series protagonist Jill Valentine as she attempts to escape the nightmare that is now Raccoon City. To increase the sense of fear, a new enemy type has been introduced into the franchise, the Nemesis. The Nemesis is a variation of the Tyrant, who has one mission, and that is to track down and kill all the remaining STARS members. Now there's a lot of cool new features added to Resident Evil 3, like the new quick turn and evade mechanic. You also get this choice branching system where you can either fight or flee against the Nemesis, as well as when you finish the game you unlock the Mercenaries mode. There's also another cool option where you can combine all different types of gunpowder to create new ammunition. Number 4, Silent Hill. In this survival horror classic, we follow Harry Mason, taking his adopted daughter Cheryl on vacation to a town called Silent Hill. Harry ends up crashing his car and his daughter goes missing. Harry must then wander the chilling streets of Silent Hill to find her. Considered by many gamers at the time to be the scariest game ever made, the first Silent Hill took the survival horror genre to a new psychological heights. It made you feel uncomfortable with its creepy soundtrack. The small town had a disturbing atmosphere where you would often fight enemies in near total darkness. Number 3, Resident Evil. In 1996, Capcom would release Resident Evil, naming the genre and ushering in the golden age of survival horror. Resident Evil had fixed camera angles, making it difficult to see upcoming enemies, with clunky tank controls, limited saves, ammunition, as well as healing items. It also had its iconic cheesy bad voice acting, as well as plenty amounts of blood and gore. In Resident Evil, you had to manage resources. You didn't need to shoot everything. Most enemies could be run past. Resident Evil 1 is the reason that I fell in love with PlayStation.
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
Number 2, Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve takes place over Christmas in New York City. You follow rookie NYPD officer Aya Brea, who must battle it out with a creature named Eve, who's attempting to create the ultimate life form. The gameplay is a hybrid of survival horror and RPG elements. It shows off how much experimentation and risk-taking developers were willing to take back in the 90s. I absolutely fell in love with the charm of this game. I fell in love with the characters and the story and all of the backstory. This is like if Final Fantasy met Resident Evil. It's an incredible game. It never came out in PAL regions, so I had to create an American PlayStation account just to play this game, and it was well worth it. Number 1, Resident Evil 2. In my opinion, Resident Evil 2 could still be the very best survival horror game ever made. It was bigger and better in every way than the original Resident Evil. It introduced us to the scenario A and B zapping system. The choices that you made, say in Leon's scenario A, would affect Claire's second run of scenario B. This could be whether did you pick up the item pouch, did you close the shutters, did you kill the crocodile. Scenario B also introduced us to the Mr. X boss, which everybody loves Mr. X. Resident Evil 2 had an incredible score of music. The music was absolutely iconic. In all honesty, you had a bigger cast of characters and a more fleshed out story. I love Resident Evil 2. I've probably completed this game more than any PlayStation 1 game I've got. Now, I wanted this game so bad that I took part in a 6 weeks athletics course under the promise that once I completed it, I would get Resident Evil 2 on its release date. You better believe that I did that damn course. Go play Resident Evil 2, it's amazing. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please give it the thumbs up, share it around, subscribe, click that notification bell, help my gaming channel reach 100,000 subscribers. It's my ultimate goal. In the comment section down below, I want to know from you guys out there, who is your favourite character to play as in a survival horror game from the PlayStation 1? And also, if you haven't already, what are your top 10 favourite survival horror games? Thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.